really consistent.
Okay, guys, I'm a little bit late.
Really solid games when it matters. They're able to get into that situation of endgame, finding eliminations. It just seems like whenever you look at the leaderboard at the end of a tournament, it's like, oh yeah, reason of a deal. They're in 5th. How did they get there? We haven't really seen too much of them, but they sneak their way up, and I hope they can do that this weekend.
And you talk about them being contested, although the north side of Doom Castle, they're not necessarily contested.
Yeah.
They kind of have that north side to themselves. They're going to have that siphon point to themselves. They do have 2 sets of duos that are contesting to the south and to the north, which honestly sounds like the perfect storm for them to third-party these other duos, especially that duo that's landing north of them, which there isn't much to go for there.
Yeah.
I can imagine Reason and Vidil focusing that duo to get some of those Storm Surge tags.
Yeah, and I mentioned it earlier as well, Booga coming in from that west side, they could have to deal with that situation as well. I mean, that drop spot is it's such a big drop spot, so many different little nooks and crannies where you can sort of hide and try and sneak around. I think we expect to see a little bit more of elongated fights happening there from teams that are coming on in, and I love that. I mean, this is the star of the show right here. This Peely, we've been looking at him. I love it. I love it. He's been doing some emos randomly. I don't know if he's doing it for anyone or he just naturally does them. He's just pulling out emos.
He's doing it for everyone.
He's doing it for everyone in the arena,
this
right?
Peely right now. This Peely is giving us all the players as well. As you can see, they are starting to come back into the stage, get onto their setups, and as we get ready to get into game number 1.
That's right. We are just so thankful for you guys, the fans. We really do appreciate your patience. We are sorry about that, but we'll be getting back into game very, very shortly. I wanted to also talk about Bryson Bolts. When the players came out and Bryson Bolts came out, the arena went kind of crazy,
yeah.
and it's a little unexpected because I don't want to say like, hey, there's duos here that don't have fans. It's just like sometimes the arena will be like, Bryson Bolts are like, rah! I'm like, yo, you guys are, what's going on? I'm down.
I mean, they've had this interesting dialogue all year long where they're like, oh, who's the underdog? A lot of people ask. And a lot of people say Bryson Bolts, but again, they aren't necessarily underdogs. In Major 2, they got 6th place. In Major 3, they got 8th place. And similar to what we saw from Batman, Booga, and Rapid, they got 8th place by only playing 11 out of 12 games.
Wow.
Who knows where they would have been if they had all 12 games?
I remember last year Globals as well, Bryson Chubbs, they were a team that took us by surprise.
Right.
They did so well. I think they won a couple of games as well on the Grand Finals day. It was one of those where it's like, where did these guys come from? But that's what this global championship stage can do. It can put you on a little pedestal. It can be like, look at me, I am a professional, and I'm a very good professional player at that. And I think that's what I look at when I'm looking at this duo. This is a duo that have that experience of doing well, Bryce in particular. So I'm intrigued as to what they can do, particularly with their drop spot now. They're wanting that forecast tower. We broke it down earlier on. Vico and Flixie are trying to not let them have it, but they're more landing towards the forecast tower. So what we've seen, some teams like basing up on that hill, trying to stop Vico and Flixie trying to come over. I'm intrigued because we haven't seen Vico and Flixie have too many problems going for that. So I'm intrigued as to what they're going to bring.
Yeah, it's a dump and house and split, and they kind of have this little lake where there's a crash plane. They get tons of metal from it, and then they get to go to that quick rotation over to the forecast tower. Honestly, it's a bit of an underrated split, and I understand why Bryson Bolts have been there all year long.
That's what we need, right? Is another fight for another forecast tower. The observers are going to just be in just a handful of spots across the map. Is there a forecast tower? Yes. We're going to go hang out there. Another duo here to highlight is Janice. It's Pixie, another EU duo. And of course, I mean, Janice. I mean, come on, fans of Fortnite, if you've watched, you've been following, you know, this guy's incredible.
I mean, going all the way back to 2020, winning the solo invitational of Janice, and then Pixie having a great performance in the Globals last year with Cheatin'.
Yeah, really great. I mean, that was a duo where we were like another one of those teams where these guys just came out of nowhere. It seemed like they'd been performing well going up to that, but now Pixie was one of those players that was kind of a hot commodity, if you like, going into this last major of the chapter, because he was performing very well. So many different players and so many different players in EU, very veteran players as well. We're looking at Pixie and thinking this could be potentially a good duo partner for me, an up-and-coming player, picked up now, of course, by Janice. Uncontested red line rig. Interested to see what they can do. I think this is another team where, yes, it says they're uncontested. If you're one of those teams, Kazi and Aspect, for example, maybe they might look to land on them. But the experience of Janice and, of course, Pixie being such an important player within this duo, they performed very well in Major number 3 where they got 8. So I'm interested to see what they can bring in.
You bring up the fact that, like, you know, they kind of look out and go, hey, this is an opportunity. But that was kind of what this year of Fortnite was, right?
Yeah.
So much of the landscape changed after Global Championships last year, right? It was kind of like, yeah, we're kind of going back to LAN, we're kind of doing things. But once we got there, it was like, okay, this is different, right? Like, now that we're here, next year has to be different. And so many of these duos just looked across the board and were like, maybe I should pick up that duo, I should pick up this duo. Like, it's been a crazy year.
I mean, I always say that there is only one thing you can predict in Fortnite is that it is unpredictable, regardless of if that's the map changing, the meta changing, duos literally changing between qualifiers and semifinals. We really don't know what's going to happen until the games start.
And what I love about these global events is no matter what happened in all the majors, you know, as you mentioned, different metas, different teammates potentially, it all doesn't really matter because this is where it all goes down. These next 12 games are going to be absolutely electric. I can't wait to get into it.
That's right. We've got another duo here to talk about Epic Whale and Muzz. I mean, you kind of highlighted them at the start of the show there, Muzz being one of the first duos to kind of win in multiple regions, and Epic Whale, I mean, when we had NA West, when it was NA West and NA East, he just couldn't stop winning. He didn't know how to, like, stop winning.
Yeah, it's funny because I was literally just talking about how duos will split up between qualifiers and semifinals, and I literally was referencing Muzz and Epic Whale right there. They actually had different duos getting into the qualifiers, and then once we hit the semifinals, because both of them did qualify, they were able to switch duos because there was a little caveat in the rules there, and obviously it worked out well in their favor, finally punching their ticket into the Global Championships, and beyond Epic Whale being, you know, the 5X, however many X's he has in his name, regardless of the back-to-back-to-back, regardless of the Gamers 8, and looking back all the way to the World Cup where he got 3rd place, he has been doing it for so long. And then of course Muzz, the powerhouse from OCE, now representing North America. This is definitely a duo to look out for.
I love watching Muzz play. He's such an impressive player to watch. Some of the things that he can do, the mechanical ability of Muzz is second to none. And I was speaking to him the other day in the hotel. I was saying, you know, are you feeling confident? How's things with Epic Whale? He said, yeah, I'm absolutely confident in Epic Whale. It's all about me. Can I make sure that I'm going to play my best game? He's a little bit nervous that he might get awareness checked, but he said if I don't get awareness checked, if I'm playing my game to the level I know I can play it at, I think he's feeling like he's going to be successful, and there's no reason why not.
I love that. Self-reflection, though. A lot of the times, these players will kind of look to outside sources as to what's going wrong. Oh, well, it was this duo that focused us. Oh, it was Greece over here. But players that can look inwardly and understand where they could have gone better, not necessarily what went wrong, but what they could have done differently, that's what makes or breaks these champions.
Yeah, that's a mark of maturity, right? For someone like Muzz, again, like you said, to win multiple times, that's how he got that far, right? To be able to stop and go, okay, now what could have I done better? Because it's very easy to point fingers and go, yeah, well, my duo or this thing or this pod of POI or this thing got removed or whatever. But to stop and go, no, what can I do to really minimize that, like, almost RNG we experience?
Yeah, and there is definitely a level of RNG. Obviously, the most notorious is where is that zone going to pull? And if we have some teams landing on the south and the zone pulls to the north, well, how are we going to be able to handle that? What rotations are we going to be prioritizing? What teams can we potentially face against? Being able to it's what these Fortnite players are able to do with how much goes into it is honestly uncomparable even to some of the other bigger esports out there.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. I mean, you mentioned the zones, particularly now in the low to no mobility meta, particularly that sort of 8th zone, those later stage zones, maybe not in endgame, but it's those rotations where you have a maximum pull zone. It's those teams that have the forecast tower. It's those teams that have got their storm surge early. It's those teams that aren't trying to fight on the rotates. They're the teams that are going to try and put themselves in the best position and find the most success, but it's so difficult to do. It's so easy, it's so much easier said than done. Just be like, oh yeah, just go front side, go around teams, don't get shot, don't go into another team, don't box fight. But it's so difficult to do in practice because there's so many different things going on in your head. Oh, we need a bit of damage, let's hop in there. Maybe that's not the best decision to make. So the low mobility meta really shakes things up, and I'm interested to see how the players can see how they do it, the affection of that, I should say.
Yeah, I love that balance, right? Kind of striking, okay, we're starting the game, let's say we're uncontested, great. We know we have to hit 555 materials, right? Wood, brick, metal.
Yeah.
We have to go and we have to get our loot. What weapons are we doing? What's our surge strategy? Now it's zone 1. We got to start getting in position. We are low on surge. Surge is on. What tags are we getting? Oh no, someone's boxing on us. It's all just so dynamic moment to moment.
And what's been so exciting with this season is that usually when we see loadouts from major to major, it's the same weapons in everyone's loadout.
Yep.
But this major, between the shotguns that we have, the ARs that we have, the pistols as well.
Yes.
There's a lot of variety, actually.
Yeah, there is lots of different loadouts. He spoke about Thomas HD earlier on with that Monarch pistol, expecting some big damage coming out of him this weekend. There's just so many different varieties. Even the new shotguns, of course, you mentioned. Lots of different ways that teams can not have necessarily just one best shotgun, not one best assault rifle. Lots of ways to express yourself in the game. Are you more of a close box-to-box player? Do you like to play a little bit further away when you're taking fights? And that's what I'm interested to see a lot of our teams doing. How can they show their identity this weekend, applying themselves in the new strategy and the new season?
Do you guys feel that, like, in that moment to moment, right? So let's say we're like, we're gonna have this surge strategy. we're gonna need this loadout. Does that change moment to moment? Does that change zone to zone?
Yes, 100%. Obviously, you need those long-range tags. You're going to go for the ARs, having to get those storm surge tags, of course. But once you get closer, once you get to the end game, you're going to go fighting box to box. You want to make sure that you have your favorite shotgun. And really, depending on the player, you might see Sovereign, you might see the Gatekeeper, or you might see that hammer pump.
Yeah, or even those dual-wield SMGs. Those things are absolutely crazy. I think a lot of teams, a lot of players will be looking to pick those up towards the later stage of the game. When everyone's a little bit closer, you don't necessarily need that range of the assault rifles, of course. It seems like the burst is the most common one for the players that are trying to get the storm surge tags. It's not quite as good in box, so expect to see a lot of teams trying to switch that up going into the late game.
Is there maybe a weapon or two or an item or anything that, you know, if these off spawn situations don't happen? Oh, you know what? Oh, guys, I'm getting word. I'm getting word. It is that time. Once again, from the bottom of our hearts, we are so thankful for your patience. That's right. It's game time. Let's send it up to our casters for game number 1.
When you see us, we want to see W's because we're ready. It looks like the game is just about to kick off here. Let's jump into match number 1. All right, Fort Worth, here we have it. We are kicking things off here at the FNCS Global Championships. And of course, we know what is in store for us.
Already getting a close-up pay-per-view of what's taking place here with Queasy and Thomas. And you have to keep in mind, Duke's Sphinx, not too far from this location here at Research Rock. Brawler's Battleground, I think, providing a decent opportunity for a little bit of early clashing, potentially.
We'll talk about those early clashes. We already know what's going to happen here. It's Malibuca Murstache versus the Power Alex, the Power Worthy. First tags are going to go to Carmine Corpse Murstache, though.
Yeah, that was a big shot implemented there by Murstache. It's going to provide a lot of pressure as well, just enough for him to be able to group with Malibuca. They've already found a Flowberry Fizz. They're getting the shield online. Worthy and Alex know that they've got to be fast on these Avengers chests.
Yeah, and this is not the only contested team, right? There are going to be other fights happening here. Play close attention to what's going to go down, though. Power Alex and Worthy do have a little bit of a disadvantage here, playing the low ground as the standoff starts to develop. Meanwhile, a quad contested drop spot for Peterbot and Foyo, who have control of their side, where Trashy and Threat seem to be in a little bit of a head-to-head.
Well, hold that thought, though, because for a moment it seemed as if we were going to, potentially be dealing with Kazi and Aspect here, but I don't see them anywhere in sight, NDF. I think right now, Swizzy, Yapko, they're just trying to do what they can to prevent themselves from being the victims of Trashy and Threats currently, but also keep in mind what Peterbot was saying earlier on. That bot is always going to be ours. Emma Frost's Medallion and that Mythic Striker Burst, that's everything that they're after, and he's already collected it.
Wow, so Peterbot and Foyo already off to a great start here. Clearly, they have the advantage. Clearly, they even have the respect of the teams landing here.
Bro, try being quiet.
Foot into their location.
It's only
Yo, try being quiet,
though.
okay?
As soon as that reveal Medallion actually
Just
launches,
join me and try being quiet.
That Swizzy, Yapko, Threats, Trashy, they're all going to be marked here at the raft. So escaping might not be the solution. They're going to have to fight their way out of this.
We've seen the interviews. We've seen, Trashy and Threat's perspective on this. They already know that they're going to have a problem with Swizzy and Japko, and that Peterbot and Foyo will just be waiting for their opportunity as the time continues to tick on. You can see they're doing just that, ready to possibly pounce here in the coming moments. But Vino and Clicks, y'all, are here, and they are indeed contested.
The moment these names
Yeah,
on
Isaac,
screen, you can just
big
hear
on
the
it.
crowd going crazy.
I'm recording right now.
Favorite for good reason.
I know, but
And I think
is
the most
Bigga in
incredible
this?
part about it is just listening to
No,
Clicks
but
talk about the
Clicks
fact that we
is.
just found out a couple days ago, yeah, we
Guess
are
what?
going
I'm
to
in
be
it.
contested. But
No,
for
you're
Dana
not.
and Resigns,
Mhm.
you have to also factor in this is familiarity for them.
Me and
Sandy
Minnie been
Steps has been
qualified.
their home as well.
Yeah, and this is a lot of respect coming from both sides. Clicks and Vino, of course, just
Well,
feeling
I'll
out
see.
the playing field right
So-
now, playing the outskirts, meaning that no team can.
No, bro, you
rotate from
have to
behind
be
them, whereas
at
Resigns
you
and
have to
Dano
be
are
at the
content with
stadium,
their side
bro.
of the map, but
I know, I
Middle
didn't want to
Eastern
go because I
teams are
can't.
on the set here. Haman and Kyle
Just
Gamer
be
now
quiet, please.
up against the likes of CZB and Nathan, who's underneath them.
And CZB and Nathan, I think, definitely one of those teams that I think a lot of people would view as that potential underdog story. But the interesting aspect is knowing that they are going to be contested here at Grand Glacier. And what we're seeing a lot of right now in the players that are just having these small, mild interruptions to their traditional loot paths, and what kind of dominoes effect that might have after the fact.
And also, just look at how many players are alive. This is about as intense as it can get when there's this much money on the line, when you have this much time, right, to wait, sit, contemplate your
Isaac, which one
strategy.
do
What are you
Rocket
gonna
League
do when
World
the
or Global
call comes?
Championship?
You have to answer it. Chap and Tini here
Not
pushing the
the
pressure,
Global
pushing the
Championship.
conversation right now. Adrian's not looking good for him. He's
Okay.
going to be the first to fall, and that's one NA team down.
I mean, I only
Bit
can
of a
listen.
tragic start there for Rise and Agers.
Oh, I
but
see
their
it now.
downfall is Teeny and Chap's uprising.
Okay, you're in. Just get
Super happy
come.
with the elimination
come
damage that they just secured
inside.
there.
Come.
Size tags
Hi,
are
hi, hi.
always going to be
Come down
so
here. Down here's the
crucial.
best
And in a
seats.
lobby like this,
I'm
NBF,
recording,
we know
so
that we have so many heavy power
be quiet.
teams. That's going to be insane to think about. You have to connect on every single shot.
Well, here's someone who's going to do just that. Thomas HD doing an excellent job holding his high ground. He's got the angle down on the teams there in the distance. I saw Gone and Quanti as well, still at Mount Olympus. We know that they have that drop spot, not for free, but again, that southern side is theirs at the moment. Queasy and Thomas HD are going to be happy with these tags, right? This is the bigger picture of hyper-competitive Fortnite. It just doesn't get more difficult than this. Clearly, we have a lot to talk about. When
How do I
comes
make
down
it
to
full
Canyon
screen?
City. This is a team that is a favorite and a favorite for a reason, as is Vico and Flixie. Some of European
Isaac, did you do
strongest
full screen or no?
coming up, and I dare to say
Stop.
part of the new
Be
era.
quiet. I'm trying to
Spark's starting
record.
fly, though. Vico trying to see if he can get an overhead view onto Virgo and Shadow. A little bit of a wraparound. Virgo now trying to see if he can switch, but Shadow, he's left too exposed. Vico, Flixie, they take the opportunity. They try to collapse. A nice connection, but at the same time, Shadow still standing. Virgo knows it's time to bail. And they're going to force themselves into a disengage, but Flixie, he's not interested in that. Flixie wants more.
Oh yeah, this is a storybook kind of conversation right here. This is something that we expected to happen. If you're going to go up against the
This
likes
is so
of
good. I
Flixie
wanna
and
go
Vico's
like them.
pathing, you just have to get out of the way or get ran down.
Nice.
And Virgo and Shadow are going to be another NA team to fall here to the hands of a European juggernaut. And, you know, this is, again, I have an inkling just to start for Flixie and Vico.
Are we watching the
There's a
same
big
people?
reason why these guys have reckless
Be
railways
quiet,
untested.
or else I'll have to
Do
mute
not want to
you.
have to deal with some of those up close and personal box fights early on, but Paper, Victor, B, they've also found themselves in a little bit of skirmish here. Clone, alongside Kremsu, trying to make sure, but they've got to be careful. Look at the stealth opportunity here. Gone and Quanti, absolute ninjas.
They're getting really close here. A lot of danger lurking nearby, and Brazil, of
No.
course, known for what they're capable of when it comes down to jumping in and playing aggressive, and they do just that. But no, the ambush was unsuccessful. Paper, oh, so close. Escapes by the skin of his teeth. Talking about Brazilian teams sneaking up. It's Persa and Ed also on the prowl right now.
Everybody just crouch walking up to all of the commotion that this box fight is bringing just outside northwest side of Mount Olympus here. And the most important aspect though, Paper, you gotta respect that 180 turnaround, throws up the middle wall, makes sure to protect himself. But Persa, they've now found an opening, but it's gonna be cut short. Victor V, Paper, all these teams starting to congest here, and a surge base on top to boot.
Here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking Person Ed are recognizing we have to get in a fight. Like whether we want to or not, Storm Surge is going to become an issue. And if you're unfamiliar what that means, when there's a certain amount of players alive, the game is going to force you to fight other teams. Damage will start to rain in the visual of lightning bolts and take you out the game if you're not being active.
The real thorn in the side right now, though, for Victor V and Paper is it's evident that they want to get inside of that bunker. Clone and Kremsu, though, they are doing everything in their power to prevent anyone else. They might find themselves trapped at the bottom of it for a time being, though, because keep in mind, teams do like to hold whenever they find duos inside of that bunker.
Quanti and Gone also setting up, looking back inwards, trying to see what's going to happen here. Meanwhile, Victor V and Paper really wearing the results of this drawn-out fight on their loadout right here. You can see ammunition starting to run low, builds even shorter than that. it's only going to be a matter of time before this starts to go super south. So if Paper and Victor V can't step up and finish this fight soon, it's not going to be good.
Yeah, but at this point, they have to find closure. There's no opportunity to retreat. You are all in at this stage. They've invested too much time, and they know that they need more surge tag damage as well. Clone, Kremzu, more than content to sit this one out, though, because the weapon bunker is sounding, and they're going to have the advantage once it opens.
Yeah, if they get to jump down there first and, of course, secure the goods, there's going to be a lot of loot that's going to be given out to Clone here shortly, but Paper and Victor V don't want that to happen. You can see how much more urgency, right, is put behind these shots now as they're trying to push in.
Clone, Kramsu, the opening has arrived here, but Victor V, Paper, they're still, I don't want to call it hesitant, but definitely wary of what awaits them when they try to catch Clone and Kremsu exiting that bunker. Malabuka Merstash, though, they've encountered some early difficulties here, it seems like, at Restored Reels. Last we checked in, they were getting a couple of decent tags onto Alex and Worthy, but now, knowing that Malabuka is in that solo position, it's gonna be tough to make his way towards a reboot van with this much traffic around him.
Yeah, undoubtedly. Look at Kanata and Cooper, though, on the move right now, trying to continue to find their way not only to the new zone, but play for this high ground, right? Looking for tags off in the distance, and very different strategy for Kanata and Cooper, where we see a lot of those other duos looking to get box-to-box fight, you know, very close quarter. They're keeping their distance almost exclusively now from other duos and other paths of duos.
But I really love this positional check, though, from Kanata and Cooper, because they've taken over a hill just northwest of Restored Reels, and they know all those duos that are far west on the map, far north, they're gonna have to rotate through Cooper and Kanata. They're just, Kanata is in the bases in positions where you have ample opportunity to deal some damage to other teams.
Well, look at this. This is the clash we all expected. Vino and Clicks versus Oceania's Damo there, who just rotated by. They're going to be the first to get a couple of tags and start to get the lead here. You have to be really careful. Vino and Clicks are going to recognize that if they stay in the storm, what's going to happen, those other teams are going to have strong positions to give them even more of a problem later. But it seems like they want to continue to press the action here.
Kashoro, though, kind of could get caught in the mix here. Not sure if Clicks and Veno have spotted him out just yet, but Kashoro, the moment that he tries to break through, that's when Clicks sees small opportunity to try and bounce in here. But again, MDF, this is getting a little bit more drawn out than maybe what Clicks and Veno were after.
Yeah, because Andalix and Sato were still here. They thought it was just a solo, but now they walk into almost a spider's web here. Sato and Andalix do have heals as well, so they can kind of sustain themselves for quite some time, but I'm not sure how much Andalix has to work with. Meanwhile, the GOATs of the region, the Kings of EU, the most consistent duo in the world when it comes to LAN performances in the recent years, are here.
Every view we pan over, it's like sharks in the water currently. The fact that Cammy and Seti have now decided to just stroll on over so casually, but they recognize there's no real openings for us to taste this one just yet. Let's prioritize our positioning and set, because they can always set up to intervene. Kashoro trying to do what he can to escape, but Veno's gonna shut that one down in no time. And his first elimination goes to Clicks.
Vino's gonna be the first to claim it alongside Clicks here for a big elimination, and that's gonna set themselves off in the right pace here. Still, pay attention on the other side. Kanata and Cooper, completely opposite situation now, as we talked about them keeping their distance. Visual and Braves are gonna step up to the plate. Let's see if they can hit this swing at bat, but nothing just yet.
Something important to consider, though, Visuals and Braids, this is our duo that came in at the final hour. Just last night, they discovered that they were going to be participating on the global stage. What's their prep time look like in comparison to everyone else? But more importantly still, Braids, he's trying to make sure that he brings the fight to Cooper and Kanata. They're not willing to fold. A couple of armored walls already expended from both sides as well. Kanata still able to find the shots that matter, though. And him and Cooper doing a decent job at just trying to forcibly create space.
And this is not just any backup duo here. This is a team that is very much tenured and familiar with one another. They, in fact, have duoed with each other throughout the year. So again, not your regular backup team. This is a very, very scary team to be fighting right now, and a huge opportunity like this is not going to be taken for granted. And you can see the fact that they forced these great players to use their armored walls tells a lot. Let's jump in with Merstash and Malabuka here, though, as the Storm Surge is effectively active now. Great place to be rotating through here at the Grim Gate, but I'm not too sure, even after being picked up, if Merstash is going to have a chance to really get back into the swing of things, as the Rift Island's already gone up, and we already know who's playing for it.
Peterbot and Pollo did not even wait a moment's notice. As soon as the Rift Island spawned in, these two were prepped and ready to go. Peterbot already taking advantage, putting some pressure onto teams that are just trying to rotate at the bottom of Rift Island. You know, teams like to try and utilize some of those rifts along the bottom, but again, when you have a team like Peterbot and Pollo, and they're not the only ones lurking either, Trashy and Threats as well, making their presence known. But keep in mind, Pollo, Peterbot, they've got that reveal medallion.
Why is my mic on full volume? That hurt my ears.
In just a couple of moments here, so Trashy and Threats will have a big problem here. The hold up, King and Phaser talk about problems, are pushing down into the EU duo. Now, there's something that we know about King, is that he's not someone you want to face in a box fight. What he's managed to do all throughout this week is instill fear into every duo. He has challenged players in the practice rooms back to back and has been the most successful.
But the way that you're mentioning that, it's all about the solos, and this is a duos game here, MDF. King trying to see if he can get a little bit of revenge damage onto Reason or Badil, but currently, Germans, they're the ones holding height, and King, he's gonna have to start burning through some of these small shield potions, and the real issue is once those shields crack, Badil, Reason, more than close enough to hear it, but they also need the damage, so the key is inevitable.
Yeah, both sides are extremely aware that this is a fight for Surge right now, and should King's team get a tag, the Surge is gonna flip. They are the team quite literally above them, and it doesn't really get much closer than this, and this is the most opportunistic time for King to take down a duo here. But Reason, there it is. Opportunities start to shift here. Reason and Badil now. Pressure starts to loom on them.
Craziest part to think about too is that they've still got to watch their backs because Rift Island just lurking in the distance, slightly higher elevation than themselves. Peterbot, Pollo, they were definitely trying to see if they could track down anybody for some additional tags, knocks, elims, ideally, but one of these teams has got to get a go on here, MDF. They can't afford to just sit idle. It's either fight or get eliminated.
Here it comes. I'm seeing two shots coming from both sides. Reason goes for it first. Vadiel on the other side doing an excellent job, but a trade comes out. King's weak, and he's going to be the first to fall. Reason and Vadiel come out on top, and even then, it's just enough to stay alive for now.
Crazy though when you think about how many teams are getting caught inside of these box fights inside of the Storm itself. Merstash, Malabuka, they're just on a recovery tour currently, and it's incredible to think that they're still 156 above that damage threshold, despite that hiccup of Malabuka having to make the reboot van play in the first place. Wax and Ping though, they seem like they're primed and interested potentially, but instead it's just going to be heading to the top of Rift Island. Malabuka might get chased though. He wants more damage.
Little does he know, though, there is Trashy and Threats up here. Xset right now, still lurking nearby. I'm very curious as to why they haven't gone yet. And we might just find out here soon if they end up opening the box and taking fire. But no, Malabuka takes flight first. And he's going to get pretty far off. Will it be enough,
no
Taco?
way.
It's not looking like the math is going to math here, as Malabuka's going to be the first to fall. He tries to get as far as possible. Merstash will have to land on him and save him now.
The problem, though, is that we're looking at 2 tick zones currently, Monster. Merstash, he can try his best effort, but I fear he might meet a similar fate, because even if he makes it into this next edge of zone, he's still gonna have to deal with all the teams that are already based up, situated, and ready to take advantage of the players that are late straggling in.
Take a look at this refresh from Dino and Clicks now, as they managed to find themselves a little bit of a cachet from some leftover action between Casper and Prism. Prism now not being in this fight.
So
and still, you have
Clicks.
OCE's Demo and Resigns almost on this warpath with them, continuing to be that thorn in their side, if you will, for lack of a better phrase. But back on over to the focus here as Clicks is looking for action here. Those are his walls. It's Acorn, it's Cold on the other side. A very scary team to go against. in the warm-up games yesterday, in the scrims, right, in our practice lobbies, they pulled off a incredible 16 eliminations just to show the lobby what they're capable of.
The real issue is just knowing that for Clix and Benno, Clix, he just needs some white heals. And you're not going to get that at this stage unless you're able to take down another team successfully. Merstash and Malabuka, though, have pulled off a miracle at this point. And it does seem, even though they're a little bit worse for wear, they're battered for sure, but they're still kicking, and that's all they need at this stage.
They do have big shields as well to work with. That headshot that he picks up right there is going to make a huge difference there as far as their survivability is concerned. Major eliminations are happening, though, as we're covering the action here. One of those, it's Peterbot and Boyo staying active here. Down goes Chief from the high ground there. And they are doing what we expect of them. Very healthy, extremely material capped, and now picking up points. That's a runaway train potentially starting to take form.
Go quick.
Meanwhile, other teams like Huddy and Kovacs just trying to see if they can find an angle. Yuma Rise under a little bit of duress here, but it's back to Clix. Benno trying to see if they can finagle their way out of this awkward position that they found themselves in, boxed up right next to Acorn and Cold. But again, Acorn and Cold, they've got decent amount of materials to work with. More importantly still, though, I think that they are certainly willing to jump into a fight if it calls for.
Oh yeah, yesterday has absolutely proven that they can take on any team without a problem. Talk about good teams that are still standing right now, teams that we've been kind of following the story. Victor V and Paper. Paper a little worse for wear. Seems like a bad peek's gonna go ahead and put him on the backside of this engagement here. And Vino facing the struggles of taking a lot of damage here as well, and not being able to recover now as they don't have whites.
Still has a couple of flow berries, but again, will that really be enough? Queasy, Thomas HD now starting to surface as well near their area. Ritual, though, takes some big tags, left that wall open just a moment too long. But Ritual, free, come on, coming out of Doomstad. Got to be dealing with Epic Oil and Muzz early on.
I got a good question for you. How do you get high points?
Holding his own. Shari's got a little bit of an angle peak advantage, so Luka's gonna look to try and see if he can find a more aggressive push from underneath. Meanwhile, Merstash, again, just trying to make sure he doesn't take another tick from the storm, but it's too little too late. Just barely makes it in. At least Malabuka can go for the revive.
You know, all things considering, he'll have more HP when he stands up than he did when he went down, so it's not all too bad here, but it is definitely time lost. The surge is active. They need to find a couple tags. Into the box they go. Back behind him is another duo as well, and if he doesn't hit this shot, he's going to be sent back to the lobby, and he hits the one that matters. Malabuka and Merstash are clawing their way out of this hole here, and unfortunately, it might not be enough here. It's so close.
Malabuka is doing everything in his power, but I fear they have finally met their end. Zero business making it that far in the first place, though, but that is the kind of power that Malabuka and Merstash can bring.
Well, here's a couple things to celebrate. Placement points has been reached. We are inside the top 25. Anyone alive now is going to start to be rewarded with more and more points. This is where things start to almost compound for you, so you want to stay up. Vino is down right now. Clix has a very important decision to make here. Do you save your best mate or let him get sent back to the lobby so you can just focus in now? Seems like he wants to go for the save. Armored Wall is going to be the saving grace here for a moment, though. Instead, Vino makes the call. Leave me. Continue to play the game here.
Benno knew there was just way too much pressure coming from the other side of that wall. A fully intact duo, and that duo being Queasy and Thomas HD. There's just no realistic opportunity for Clix to bring that one back. But Queasy, he's actually looking a little hurt. He might have been desperate at that point, and Clix finds himself in a similar situation. Only has small shield potions to rely on, 2 below. When it comes to the damage threshold, he's got to make a move, and he's got to do it now. But I don't think anybody's giving him an opening.
Well, he's still inside the top 20 now. The more teams that fall, this would be excellent for Clix here. He just has to hold on a little bit longer. And he is doing just that. A little bit of a zone pull towards his side, more or less. But High Ground has Cammy and Seti looking from up above, and it has never looked better for this duo.
Kadu and Sia have already been eliminated.
Excuse me, what just happened?
Reconvening with Clix's
Oh my god.
POV, but Clix is just crazy with the movement. The fact that he managed to escape.
Still alive.
still
He's
hustling.
clutching. Almost a top
Oh,
15 now.
no.
And he's inside the top 15. Could he make a top 10? It's so
Hey, Siri.
down he goes.
Hey, Siri. Call Isaac.
Peter Bot is also a solo.
It
Be
could've
quiet.
been anybody in this circumstance, but of course it had to be Peter Bob. But take a look at the high ground. Chapentini. And they're looking for even more still. 5 eliminations already built up here, Monster. And they've got a really strong grasp on this high ground.
What an incredible view for Chapentini. This is coming off the mountain here. Seti seems to have lost his teammate now. Has to do this on his own here. But still, anything can happen. But Muzzen Epic Guerrero inside the box, inside the lane. He's throwing armored walls down. That's going to buy him a little bit of time. Excellent plays here from Seti. No time to play with this storm, though. He just cannot afford it.
Said he's doing everything he can to try and scale his way up this mountain face, but things are just going to get all the more vicious. The higher he climbs, the more pressure he might encounter. Muzz is going to find himself in a two-step situation. Peter Bot goes huge there, though, off the Seti.
8 eliminations now for Peter Bot and Boyo here. Peter Bot still going, nearly finding another one there. Just moments away now from a top 5 here. Can he do it as a solo? He's getting spotted out though. Armor wall comes down. Another weak player in front of him. Oh, he got tagged. Never powered out. It was so close. But now the focus comes into who will win game 1. We have just 4 teams remaining. Make that 5. Acorn and Cole find another.
Duke simply to sabotage, losing his duo Sphinx there to Peter Bot, but Acorn and Cole, the fact that they are still intact, 5 armored walls as well to work with here for Acorn. Chapentini, though, they're trying to see if they can look for an opportunity to collapse. Vico, Flixie off in the distance as well. The mid-ground starting to really pile up here.
Well, look at this. High ground starting to run out of material. Vico and Flixie, this is the pick for me. The team that I knew, you leave them uncontested. They're just going to put in dangerous work here on the field. And it is starting to shape up. Acorn and Cold and a saving grace on the low ground, on the outskirts, putting pressure onto Japan's best. Rise and Yuma, who also has 7 eliminations. Yuma sends up against Acorn, finds a beautiful tag there. Loses his teammate though, finds another exchange. It's back and forth here. Anything can still happen.
All these teams scurrying in the low ground, though, they're sabotaging each other. Acorn's gonna go down. Yuma still standing tall, but now Chapentini from the high ground, they're just gonna collapse, and that is just another elimination to add to the count. Vico, Flixie versus Chapentini. It's a battle of Europe.
A battle for the ages indeed here. 5 eliminations still for Teeny and Chap. Things are starting to rack up. Teeny, the first to go down. Chap's also weak. They jump in. They close the game. And game number 1, the victory royale will go to Chap and Teeny.
Could it be more deserved? The way that they held down that high ground, MDF, you could tell that they were aiming exclusively for the victory royale at this stage. But granted, you have to keep in mind, there's somebody on the ground that can help out even more so.
Dallas, would you please give it up for your Game 1 winners? Chapentini, do you want to step up for me here, fellas? So everyone can see your glorious faces. Let's kick things off here. What a great start. I mean, you guys, obviously, Game 1, a lot of pressure, bit of waiting around the beginning, but in front of these fans. To walk us through the end game, how did things pan out for you guys?
Good. We're the best players, so it's easy.
Best players, easy. I mean, I love the confidence there. For you as well there, I mean, your teammate here, you guys worked to get Vico and Flixie in the last seconds there. You had the high ground. Is that what really counted there?
Of course, we're only playing for height, and that's how you win games. That's it.
Coming into this competition, obviously a lot of expectations, things that might happen. Did things pan out in that first game as you thought they might, or was it very different?
It was different. We took forecast, and then we just played out.
Those forecast towers are playing a very pivotal in this as well. How important are those in the rest of this competition with 11 games left to go?
The most important thing, if you get that, you win the game. It's easy.
Would you please give it up one more time for your Game 1 winners? Chapentini, everyone! Oh, things have started beautifully here. There is loads more coming your way here, courtesy of the FNCS Global Championships 2024. A short break from us here on the broadcast, but do not go anywhere. Stay exactly where you are. There's loads more coming your way very, very soon.
Okay, guys, that's the end of the video. I'll see you later. Keep on gaming. Well, because I don't really have time. Just go to YouTube and watch my live. Bye.